taking on the Pistons. 8 seed, 1 seed. Fourth quarter, Orlando up 6, and it's Franz Wagner driving and slamming it home over Asar Thompson. Oof, that's nasty. Well, then just over 2 minutes to go. This time, Wagner lobbing this one up to Jalen Suggs, who lays it in. Magic, they steal this one on the road, 112-101. We're back, joined by CBS Sports NBA analyst John Gonzalez after a wire-to-wire victory from the, check the notes, 8-seeded Orlando Magic over the top-seeded Detroit Pistons. And I think one of the biggest storylines of this game is you got Cade Cunningham, who's giving you a playoff career-high 39 points, but Orlando still running away with this one. How concerning is it, if you're Detroit, that this can be just a one-man offense and you're relying so much on Cade Cunningham?
Yeah, this has been the knock against the Pistons all season long, Kiana, that they are over-reliant on Cade Cunningham. Now, when he went out with that collapsed lung, the Pistons still were chugging along and won what? They won 9-3 without him, and it looked like, okay, they could maybe withstand this. But tonight was a great example of all the concerns that you would have with the Pistons, where Cade Cunningham goes for 39 points. Only one other player on the Pistons scored in double figures. That was Tobias Harris, who scored 17, and it wasn't a very efficient shooting night from Tobias Harris. Everybody else in single digits, and the bench was basically useless. Dennis Jenkins, who's had a really good season, he was the high man off the bench with 6 points. You contrast that with the Magic, who had all 5 of their starters in double figures, and Jalen Suggs, a guy who fouled out, he was everywhere tonight. He was awesome. Franz Wagner, he hasn't looked like himself until tonight when he threw down a dunk, had 19 and 5. He started to look good. Paolo Banchero, I've killed him, crushed him all season long. He's had 2 good games in a row. And then I think the concerning thing, especially if you're the Pistons, you lose this game at home. That's 11 straight home playoff losses in Detroit on a night when Desmond Bane had an awful, brutal shooting night, and the Magic still won this one comfortably. That would give me a little pause.
Yeah, Desmond Bane going 7 of 20 from the field, 1 of 8 from three-point land. But, John, I want to get your take on this one, and it's not that I'm trying to give any type of excuse, but I'm just trying to make sense of what we just saw. I want to get your thoughts on, the whole ideology of the rest versus rust. You consider that the Magic came in playing 2 play-in games. They surprised many also including you and I, and we talked about this, and they got that win in the play-in against the Hornets, and now riding a bit of that momentum maybe into game 1 to steal one on the road against the best record in the East?
Yeah, I mean, you and I were talking about this right before we came on air. It's kind of wild to watch the Orlando Magic, this version of them, which is the version that we all thought that we would get all season long, but we didn't get until the play-in against the Hornets when it was last chance saloon, win or go home. And I guess you can't rush these things, right? Like, they waited till the very last play-in game to actually try this season. But this is the version of the Magic that people wanted to see, right? Where Paolo Banchero, who's been super uneven all season long, he's had 2 really good games in a row. I don't like the fit between Banchero and Wagner overall, but they looked really good in this game. And Jalen Suggs is a little bit of do everything. And, oh man, what would they look like if Bane had a good night? And you contrast that with the Pistons. These 2 teams are very similar, right? Like, the Pistons do all the things that the Magic do well, ostensibly better, except for in this game. The Pistons were number 1 in the NBA this season in points in the paint. Well, who won the points in the paint battle? The Magic, considerably. And then their half-court defense, the Magic's was excellent, not only in that Hornets game, but tonight against the Pistons. And I think one of the guys, if you're the Pistons, that you need to call out here is Jalen Duren. He was next to invisible tonight. He goes for 8 points and 7 rebounds, just 3 of 4. He only took 4 shots. I mean, this is a guy who could potentially make all NBA and is a finalist for most improved player. Well, not tonight he wasn't. And Cade Cunningham really needs his 1A player, and he didn't get him tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very interesting because you and I, we've talked a little bit about this just coming into the postseason. We were talking and previewing this Hornets and this Magic matchup, and we are kind of under this assumption that this is a Magic team that even if they didn't even make the postseason, this would be a unit that's kind of clearing the house a little bit, maybe getting rid of Jamal Mosley, maybe some players and what could happen there. But let's just say, hypothetically, we talked about this not too long ago, let's say that they could win some games, rattle off maybe a couple more upsets. Does that change the way we're looking at what the Magic might be doing this offseason?
Maybe. I mean, it would have to be more than just a couple games, right? Because I had the Pistons winning this series in 5. Maybe that doesn't come to fruition here, but I do still think that the Pistons are the better team because, as we mentioned, there's so much overlap. If you were doing a Venn diagram between the Pistons and the Magic, there'd be a big part in that middle there because they both like to score in the paint. They both have big bodies. They both play really good defense. I still think that Cade Cunningham is the better player on either team. But in this hypothetical situation that we're talking about here, you know, what happens if the Magic win more than just a couple? What happens if they launch an upset and get out of the first round? Then all of a sudden, is Jamal Mosley sticking around? Everybody, including me, thinks that he's probably a goner and they're going to replace the head coach. I thought, if they're a first round exit, they won't lose in 5 games to the Pistons or 6 games to the Pistons, then maybe they're thinking about unplugging Paolo Banchero. Maybe you put him in a package, dangle him, see if the Milwaukee Bucks bite. Maybe you could get Giannis. All of that maybe changes if they launch an upset. Now, I don't want to overreact. It's just one game. We'll see what happens with the Pistons in game 2 and whether or not they can look more like themselves. They've been the number 1 seed. I keep defending them, Kiana. I would like them to reward me for that positivity with the Detroit Pistons. They're the number 1 seed for a reason. They should look like it maybe in the next game.
Maybe they'll look like it if they start maybe spreading that ball around, more starters and even getting in double figures, not just relying on 2, especially Cade Cunningham. But hey, going back to the Magic, I know it's just one game, but we got to be honest, winning cures a lot. I'm just saying, John, we'll see how everything shakes out. As always, we appreciate you bringing the best. Thank you so much. Well, Magic bringing their best in game 1. And take a look at their game 1s as an 8 seed all time. Well, yeah, I mean, they've had 3 wins now as an 8 seed. Their lone loss being in 2007 against the Pistons. This one, I mean, returned to the playoffs tonight after a 6-year drought and facing off against a Trailblazers team who's gone the same length of time without a series win. The Spurs took the season series over Portland 2-1, and that's with third-year MVP candidate Victor Wembanyama missing all 3 meetings. So how does Portland counter Wembanyama? We send it out to Nate Ryan on hand in San Antonio.
After 7 years, the San Antonio Spurs have returned to their rightful playoff position. You think this city isn't ready for the NBA postseason? The Frost Bank Center all fiestaed out for game 1 of the Western Conference playoffs, Spurs and Trailblazers. A lot of talk coming in, the playoff experience for San Antonio, right? But this team has 2 NBA champions on it. Harrison Barnes won one with the Golden State Warriors, Luke Cornett with the Boston Celtics just a couple years ago. And what better way to figure out if you can swim than throwing yourself into the deep end? De'Aaron Fox, the head of the Snake, the point guard for the Spurs as well too, has experience from his playoff days with the Sacramento Kings. Obviously, Victor Wembanyama's health, a big talking point coming in as well, dealing with a left rib contusion. But Spurs head coach Mitch Johnson has said Vic is a full go for tonight. And the Spurs have known their playoff standing for a few weeks now. The last real meaningful game they played was against the Denver Nuggets at Mile High a couple weeks ago. Victor played 40 minutes in that ball game. I'd expect a healthy dose of the French-born superstar here tonight. And on the other side for Portland, stopping Deni Avdija is going to be the focal point. The first-time All-Star for the Trailblazers, top 15 in the NBA in scoring in 3 games in the regular season against San Antonio. Avdija averaging over 31 points per game, but in those 3 games, the Spurs were without Victor Wembanyama. So tonight is going to be Portland's first look at Victor. Expect Stephon Castle to draw the matchup against Avdija defensively. Castle famously has held guys like Luka Doncic, Donovan Mitchell to below 35% shooting from the floor. He's top 15 in the NBA in defensive rating. So we'll see how Avdija fares spending a night in the Spurs Castle. 8 p.m. tip tonight from San Antonio. Expect a juiced up crowd at the Frost Bank Center as the San Antonio Spurs